Well, if it's not another episode of HeyTim Podcast. Hello, bienvenida, welcome back. Can you imagine? I'm on streak. I'm releasing an episode a week. I think that's cool. Who would have thought? Well, without further ado, I suggest we dive into our topic today. And today's topic I personally find rather curious and interesting because we're going to talk about words, and I love words. And well, I guess anybody who studies languages love words, new words, old words, different words, big words, small words, just words, vocabulary. But not any vocabulary, not just some words, but slang. Slang words are the best ones. Why? Because they are unusual words. They something that's it's difficult to find in the dictionary. Let's start with what slang is. Slang usually some informal vocabulary used in a specific situation. It can be different, depends on profession, like a professional slang when people use it in their profession, like in medical care, or some lawyers, they use a lot of slang in their profession, or even teachers, they use also in linguistics some professional words that usually people don't use. This is kind of jargon or also slang, the professional slang, but it also can be slang which words which is used informally, informal situations, or in any situation. It doesn't really matter, formal situations, informal situations, but it's just words, let's say, out of the ordinary. So that is actually interesting how they become part of our vocabulary, how they find their place. And historically, slang is not something new. It's not like, this younger generation speak some bollocks. Yeah, they speak some strange words I don't understand. It's not good. No, but slang is actually something that is around thousands of years. I think personally that it's a whole thing of how we start to invent languages. If we go back many years ago, let's just imagine that some peoples in the cave first they didn't have language. No, what did they have? They had some they had some sounds, howls, and so on. So after some time, I think some people started to produce something similar to words. I mean, like when they started, like, animal, yeah, something that they started to produce like a word. Well, definitely in different areas, they pronounced it differently. That's why we have different pronunciation, different grammar, and so on. Yeah, that's so many differences because all people on earth were in different places, in different communities, so they produced these sounds differently. Oh, how amazing is that? So this is a slang. Yeah, so it's not slang. It's how new words appear in the language, how language appears. So it's nothing actually weird in that. I think slang is shouldn't be associated with something bad. Well, at least sometimes, yeah, people associate with something bad. To give you some example, I want to go back a little bit into the 20th century because we have, for example, now we have some words which we are completely sure of. We think that they are normal and we think of them as just usual words, and we use them in formal situation. Yes, not just in informal situation, but also in formal situation. One of these words, for example, is cool, which means to have like chilled. When you're cold, you feel cool or cool breathe or something like that. And in the end of 20th century, it started to appear in America. I think in jazz area or so on, that people started to say these things like, "Oh, that's cool," and this cool is means like good, nice, yeah, really interesting, really curious. Wow, cool. Now it's kind of part of our language, and I can't imagine even that cool is not cool. That's something wrong with that. Next one, as an example, okay, which stands for all correct, yeah, okay, all correct. It was definitely misspelled. It's actually should be AC, all correct, but because people misspelled it, they started to use it, and many people actually they thought it was ridiculous to use it. Like, what's this? Okay, what is it? Doesn't this is mean? And now look at us. This okay in not just in even English. It's I think in any language. In I definitely know that people use it in Russian, in Spanish, in German, and you name the language. People don't use this okay. And another one, the last one I want you to show, which is really interesting, the word guy. What is this word? We describe a man or a person. These days, we can even describe a girl as a guy or guys, and you can even hear like girls when they are in a company. Instead of saying, okay, girls, let's go, they say, okay, guys, let's go. But all of them are girls, and they still use it as guy. So in today we use a guy not to a man but to a person. What's interesting here that it actually was a name in in England, and it was a person, a Guy Fawkes, and it was a real person, Guy Fawkes, who had this name Guy, and after some gunpowder plot, which it's actually quite curious. I may make an episode about this closer to 5th of November about the gunpowder plot, because if you don't know, well, I'm not going to dive into that. It's quite a big topic. So that was his name. But I guess you all know this mask, and you can recognize that Guy Fawkes. It's, well, what I'm, if you know, you know. If you don't, well, you can Google it. So this is the first originated where Guy came from. Well, that is enough for introduction. I think it was already too long. And I want to begin with the new slang, alpha generation, Generation Z, and well, this new words that new teenagers, new people, young people, they use it, and they use it quite often. The words I'm going to talk about, I personally saw either on internet or I heard them in the streets. I do not use them as much. I may use a few of them, but not that much, to be honest, because, well, I'm almost 40 now. So I have, as a millennial, we have quite enough of slang words already also, and maybe sometimes we can use one of these ones, but personally I don't think I use it. But I think it's curious to know them from first from linguistic point of view, and second, if you hear or if you have kids or if you hear somewhere in the street, that you won't be surprised and you kind of understand what does it mean, even if you don't understand exactly, because, well, what can we understand? We are onks now, no? What we can understand. So the first one is 6-7. Who would have thought? Personally, my favorite because it's of this 6-7 thing. I think I can hear this one almost every day, if not every day, but definitely once a week. Somewhere, people, usually kids, usually teenagers, they just see each other and they can greet each other like 6-7, and so on. What does it mean? It doesn't really mean anything. It's originated from the song by the rapper Skrilla. If you want, you can have a look at this. You can Google and look this song and clip, and it's to me nothing fascinating about this. But well, that's I listen to different kind of music. But what's interesting that people started to use this number and as an answer to anything. Yeah, that's how are you? Well, 6-7, which means okay, I guess. Yeah, or they just greet each other, or when you ask something and they don't know the answer, or they don't want to give you the answer, they can say 6-7, and it's like, well, okay, that's your answer for today. Next one is mid. When something is mid, is on average, it's maybe a bit disappointing, nothing exciting about this. And I guess we can describe a film, a game, maybe even food, like something mid. like in the middle, average, nothing interesting. Next one is interesting, is cap or no cap. Yeah, I decided to join them since why not? Yeah, they are close enough. Cap means lie. So if you, for example, say dad bought me is going to buy me Porsche, you can say, that's cap. Yeah, that's definitely a lie. Or the other way, if you say no cap, it's like, wow, it's cool, unbelievable, amazing. Yeah, there's like no cap, like no lie. Yeah, that's really cool. On the internet, you can use it, like you can see it a lot, especially in the comment section. I encounter no cap all the time. Yeah, people use it in answer to some other comments. Next one on the list, I have Ankh. Ankh is something like almost me. Well, basically, Ankh is short for uncle, which means an older guy, yeah, or also can be a girl, but something who acts older or who is old enough not understanding young people. Yeah, if you don't understand them, you don't understand their words or their feelings or so on. So you just Ankh, you don't know life, you just some old person, you Ankh, so you don't get it. Yeah, and that's okay, because well, you have your things. Next one is Rizz. Rizz stands for charisma. It's also a shortened version of a word of charisma, and it spells with the R-I-Z-Z, Rizz. And it can, I think it can be actually, well, what does it mean first? First, it means that something charismatic or maybe a bit attractive in a romantic way, and we can describe it a person. We can, I think, use it as a verb or use it as a noun, as an adjective. It's actually quite interesting, yeah, that for example, he has a lot of reason in him. Sorry, he has a lot of reason in him. So he has like a lot of charisma. He's really attractive person, or she's Rizz, yeah. So this is an adjective, and that's we describe her as very attractive person in a romantic way, maybe outstanding, something like that. The next one is Delulu. I don't know if it's so new or not. I actually heard it maybe a year or maybe 2 years ago. It's not that new, but I still decided to include. Why not? Maybe some people don't know that. Don't again use it, I guess, to call someone a Delulu. Well, I think I'm too polite to call someone a Delulu, maybe my friend, but my friends now a bit older, so it would be also maybe a bit offensive to call them Delulu. Delulu is a short abbreviation for delusional, and to be delusional is to be a little bit out of your mind, maybe strange, stupid, weird, like delusional when you have some illusions about something, and they are usually not correct. Yeah, and that you can be a bit delulu. Yeah, a bit delusional about this. Next one I really like. I like this one, and it's maxing, maxxing, maxing. When you maximize, yeah, I guess it stands from maximize. When you maximize something, you can do like look maxing, aura maxing, gym maxing, podcast maxing. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm podcast maxing. I'm trying to release every week an episode, and I try to record every week an episode. I try to do well to max it in my life. Yeah, so you choose something, and usually young people choose something like, yeah, to look maxing or Rizz maxing, you can also say, to be as charismatic as possible, as attractive as possible, Rizz maxing. And you just go all in, you just try to do it as much as you can. Yeah, do your best, we can say in some older vocabulary, do your best. When you do your best, you maximize your thing, whatever you want to maximize. And last one, but not the least, is GOAT. This one is my personal favorite, and I think the only one I really use, or I think It's because I'm a gamer. Yeah, I used to play and I still play video games. And in video games, this word was around for quite a while. It's not that new. And we used it even, well, a long time ago. We already used this. But now people use it for many things. So, what is this word? This word is, I already told you, GOAT. GOAT. It's abbreviation for greatest of all time. So, you can describe something or something as the exceptional, as the best, as the so that's why we used it in video games. Yeah, if you are the best player on server, you are GOAT. Yeah, you are the greatest of all time. And we can use it, for example, in film industry. I would say like Lord of the Rings by Tolkien is, and I mean, as books, as films, it doesn't matter. I'm sure to me personally, this whole Lord of the Rings thing is just gold. It's the greatest of all time. Harry Potter also we can also say as greatest of all time. There are something there are some things which are just the best. So they are just gold. And we can also use to people, and we can say that this is goat. What's interesting that now we can use it as an adjective. This is goated. This person is goated. And if you just do something really well, yeah, someone can also say that, oh, you are goated. Yeah, that means that you do exceptional work. Well, and that is it, guys. I wonder what you think about all of this vocabulary. Would you say that it's all outdated or not? Let me know in the comments if you know any other slang, maybe some newer. I'm really interested to know. And also, tell me which one is your favorite out of this list. And maybe you use something, maybe not. Well, just have a wonderful day. See you later. Bye bye.